I will sell this house today.
Well, that's a realtor's job to sell you a house, right? What if I was to tell you that there are certain homes that your realtor may not want to show you or even bother selling you? I'm going to talk about a tactic that agents have used, and unfortunately, it still could happen today. And that, my friends, is called steering. So let's get into it right now. You know, I make these videos to help educate you so you can advocate for yourself on your next real estate transaction. So this topic I felt was very important to bring up in light of all the changes that just happened in August 17th related to that lawsuit settlement with the Sister Burnett case. And it has to do with, unfortunately, with the real estate commission. So yes, steering is happening due to real estate commissions. And it happened to me on one of my listings just recently. And I'm going to get into that story in a little bit. But before we do that, let me explain to you exactly what steering in real estate is. So the definition of real estate steering, it's a discriminatory practice where agents will influence their buyers to look at a certain community based on their race, color, religion, disability, familial status, or a national origin. So for example, say if there was a certain community where people who live there are predominantly a certain race or religion, an agent may steer that buyer to move to that neighborhood or even maybe steer them away from that neighborhood. Is completely illegal under the Fair Housing Act. Now, the steering I'm referring to is regarding the real estate commissions. As you know, as of August 17th of this year, major changes happened in the real estate industry. So the way commissions were handled prior to this lawsuit is that a person wants to sell their house, they hire a real estate agent, and that commission would be 5%. Now, a lot of people are saying 6%. I'm using 5% in this example because that has been the going rate here in my market here in New Jersey. So 5% would be 2.5% would be paid to the listing agent, and then 2.5% would be paid to the buyer agent. This is all paid out of the seller's pocket. The lawsuit came into place because they felt that was unfair for the seller to be paying for the buyer's real estate agent. So now what has happened under the new rules, the seller is only responsible for paying their listing agent. They don't have to pay for the buyer's agent, or they can choose to, but they don't have to pay the standard 2.5%. They can offer less than that. So now this is where the problem comes into play. A couple of months ago, it was in August, right when all these changes took place, I had a listing and my seller decided that, hey, I'm only going to offer 1.75% on the buyer's agent commission. And I said, that's totally fine. You can do whatever the heck you want. Now I get a phone call from another agent who saw my listing. Now keep in mind, we can't display the commissions anymore on the multiple listing service. So we have to actually call the listing agents to find out if a buyer agent compensation is being offered. This agent called me up, said, saw the house, I saw the listing, sent it to my clients. They love it. They then asked, is the seller offering a buyer agent compensation? I said, well, yes, they are. They're offering 1.75%. Their response, they said, oh, had I known that, I wouldn't have sent this listing to my client. Oh my, I can't even. Did you really just say that to me? They just said that to me. I couldn't believe it. And I said, well, you know, if they really like this house, you really need to show it. They then responded and said, okay, I'll let you know if we're going to show it, if we're going to come see it. Yeah, never heard from them again. So I'm not going to lie, that got me really concerned. I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? In my research, I found another story that where this happened years ago with the real estate company Rex. Do you all remember Rex? It was a discount brokerage. So apparently there were 600 phone calls that were recorded of other agents calling the agents working for Rex complaining about the discounted commission. And they were actually threatening and saying to the Rex agents, I'm not going to show your property because you're not paying enough in the commission. Yeah, that happened. And I'll even go back a little further. I mean, this is a thing. This has happened. I'm not saying all agents do this, but there are some that do this. And when I got into the business almost 10 years ago, I was told about this, where agents would be looking for homes for their clients. And what they would do is they would filter out which listing was paying the higher commission. So the higher the commission, that house made the top of the pile. The lesser commissions were at the bottom of the pile. So what if that client's dream home was that one that's sitting at the bottom of the pile? Would they ever get to see it? Maybe not. So my concern is with this new change that came into place with this settlement is that now we can't see the commission online, and now agents have to call the other agent, the listing agent, to find out what the buyer agent compensation is, or if they're offering less than what you've agreed to, right? We have to have a buyer agent agreement now. So if you have an agreement of say 2.5% with your agent and they call the listing agent and they say, oh, we're only offering 2%, we're offering 1.5%. My concern is like what happened to me on my listing, that agents are not even going to bother showing the house and they're going to steer their clients away from looking at that house. Now, I've heard of excuses that were given that agents could even tell a buyer that, oh, if the seller's not offering any commission or if they're offering less than what we've agreed to, it's not worth it to work with them. They're going to be difficult to work with. I've heard that before too. Yeah, it's a big problem. Big problem. So now what can one do to avoid this from happening? Well, this is what I will tell you. First of all, if you're in the market, you're looking for a house right now, you more than likely have a buyer agent agreement signed with your agent. Then that could be whatever you agreed to, 2%, 3%, 2.5%, what have you. So fine, you have to have that in place. Now, when you want to go look at houses, what I would be doing, if your agent is sending you listings, or if you happen to see listings online, you send it to your agent, say, hey, I want to look at this house. Ask them to find out what is the buyer agent commission, that you want to know that. You as the buyer have the right to know if that seller is offering buyer agent compensation, because if it's zero, there is the chance you might have to pay for it. And if they're offering less than what you agreed upon with your buyer agent, you may have to come up with the difference, okay? But there are ways around this, and I'm going to explain to you. So the first thing I want you to keep in mind is if the seller is not offering any buyer agent compensation, you can still go look at that house. And if you really like it, you can write it in the offer and ask the seller to pay for your buyer agent commission. I just had a viewer recently on one of my live streams tell me that they bought a house. It was out in Midwest, or maybe it was in Nevada. Can't remember exactly where. However, they were able to get the seller to pay the 3% commission for their buyer agent. They were. It doesn't hurt to ask. I know everyone's freaking out right now about the possibility that now they have to pay for their buyer's agent. You can absolutely ask for it. You can negotiate it. If the seller is offering less than what you agreed to with your agent, and your agent wants you to make up that difference, again, you can ask for them to make up that 0.5% or 1% difference in the commission. You can totally ask for that. So don't be discouraged by this. If your agent is trying to discourage you from looking at the house and they feel it's going to be too much work to even negotiate it, they're not doing their job. They're not. So anytime you see a listing, you see a house that you're interested in, ask what the buyer agent compensation is, just so you know that you're on top of it. Because if they come back to you and say, oh, it's not worth to see this house, and you don't know what the buyer agent commission is more than likely that they're not paying, or they're paying less than what you have in your agreement, and they just don't want to deal with it. Again, I'm not saying all agents are doing this. There are a lot of us out there that are hardworking, we're honest, all the things, but there are some that are still using this tactic, like that agent that I experienced on my listing recently. If you are in the market for buying or selling a home right now, and you need to be connected to a real estate agent in your market, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to connect you with somebody. Click the link down below, fill out the form, and I will get back to you and help you get connected to an agent in your area. Now, for you sellers, I'm not trying to scare you into thinking that you have to offer something to an agent. Not trying to do that at all. The purpose of this video is I'm trying to educate the buyers on how to navigate this so they still get to see your house. Buyers should not be denied seeing a home that they really want because the agent just wants to work for their commission and not for their clients. So that's the purpose of making this video. I'm not trying to scare sellers into thinking that steering is rampant now because of these changes with the commission structures due to this settlement. Not doing that at all. Again, I'm educating the buyers here. So again, you're going to ask your buyer agent to find out if the seller is offering a compensation. If they are, great. If they're not, or they're offering less than what your agreement states, you can absolutely negotiate that in your offer. Another thing that you can do is to make sure that you're getting all the listings that meet your criteria. The listings that you get from your agent, you can go back and look on Zillow and Trulia just to make sure that there aren't other houses out there that are meeting your criteria and that your agent didn't send that to you. Now, look, there are reasons why some agents may not send you a house because they dig deep into it and they find things out about it that, yeah, it may look like it fits your criteria, but there could be other things that are wrong with the house. Or like say in the agent notes, it says, the septic is being sold as is. The buyer is responsible for paying for the septic. That's not always seen on Zillow and Trulia. You don't see those. The agent notes are in multiple listings. So go back and check with the agent and say, hey, I saw this house online. Why didn't you send me this one? Ask them why and ask them like, what was it about the house that didn't meet your criteria? So I hope you found this information helpful and to help you identify whether or not your agent is steering you away from homes due to a commission. And if you want to know what you should not be saying to your real estate agent, you got to watch this video right here. You do. I think you'll get a lot out of it. Thank you so much for watching me today to get your dose of real estate reality. My name is Jackie Baker, and I will see you next time.